Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Almighty Blues FC, a fan channel for all to see. And today's episode is going to be fun. भाई बहुत exciting होने वाला है. And I have to share with you firstly disclaimer. We have one of the OGs that I consider of YouTube, especially me following football on YouTube. And trust me, yes, this is an opposition fan who's making a comeback to the Premier League and quite deservedly so. Yes, you've seen it. Leicester fan. It is an international fan that we have, and Chris is someone that we know very well on Almighty Blue. The OGs of the channel would know as well. But you've heard from me कि क्या होने वाला है Chelsea का perspective. What do Chelsea fans think? What I think? What you all think? The bigger picture is the reality is how much ever we think does not matter. We probably need to get the realist speaking because at the end of the day we can all be very optimistic at the same time very pessimistic. लेकिन reality क्या है हम सुनेंगे तो let's all have it up for Chris. Chris is in the house, guys, so we have to definitely welcome Chris. But Chris, great to have you. Long time no see, Chris. Like I said yesterday, we did part one of this, but how are you, by the way?
Well, I'm very well, thank you very much. I'd be better if we weren't searching for a new manager, but thanks for having me on. And my memory goes back to one of our best ever quiz contestants.
Oh wow! Thanks for bringing it up. Yes, absolutely. And I think that is something that the second part of it has been pending for a good while. For people who do not know the context, as in Chris, as you know me as well, we love our quizzes. So Chris has had his quiz on Leicester TV for always. And I think Chris, if I remember right, that was one of the first seasons where I had a lead till the very end, and then basically, I believe was it Doug who kind of beat me towards the end, if I remember right. But yeah, it was a crazy season.
You did an Arsenal. You were up there right until the very end.
Come on. No, or let it put it this way, that we were basically trying for the Europa League and we ended up in the Conference League. You know what I mean?
We know that very well ourselves. Yes,
yeah. But it was a quality quiz. I swear it was a quality quiz, and I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Of course, people who do not know, check out Leicester TV. You can check out in the title as well as the description. Clifford in the house. How are you, Subhajit? Bye. Joshua in the house as well. Harsha. Yes. Pudin says that you actually look like Enzo Maresca. No, that's an interesting one. Pudin has a reference of a lot of comparisons.
I've got his hair.
Good stuff. Again, guys, I know I've introduced already, but for people who do not know, because Chris has been on the channel after a long while, again, like we can go back in the day of Euro 2020 that we were kind of collabing all the time, and again, love to have him. But I must say, in terms of just the Premier League, as well as a Leicester fan, I do not know anyone, and I mean literally anyone in the whole of the world who knows more than Chris. And I genuinely mean it, both the Premier League as well as Leicester. So that's something that I would hope, Chris, as much as the Leicester fan hat is on, you wear the neutral hat because we have to get some truth bombs out of you today. Because if I say, people don't listen to me, right? So we need from you as well, from the horse's mouth, as they say, right?
Oh, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. So, Chris, first and foremost, like obviously you said that changing managers, obviously not a it's a say jury's out kind of moment for each and every fan there is, right? But how do you see it as a Leicester fan? Because Enzo Maresca obviously won you the championship, or should have won you at a canter, right? And then you possibly just went over the line. Of course, getting straight back up was a big deal no matter what, right? But there are two sides, and I see, if I see on social media, one side says that Leicester were lucky enough in a sense to not lose a Jamie Vardy and Albrighton, Pereira, James Justin of the likes, and that is one of the reasons why Leicester were able to come up. The second side says that no, actually they did lose a lot of people. It's just that a lot of starters stayed, but to go through the entire championship is nearly impossible to come up right back, because you can see how Leeds were doing, of course, my rival. So how do you see, because Enzo Maresca is getting a lot of credit as things stand, who gets the credit really?
Well, I mean, he should get the credit because he was the manager. And, right. If things go wrong, the buck stops with him. So if it goes right, he should get the credit. The thing is that you or me could have won the league with that team. Right. It was the best team, and no disrespect, you know, apart from Ipswich, who absolutely came out of the blue, and you know nobody expected that. You know, the three strongest teams were the three teams that came down. And what we've got to realise that had Leeds had a decent start to the season, they would have probably finished above us. They had a bad start to the season with, you know, my manager situation, the players, who was coming, who was going, and they had a horrendous start. Had they not had that, yeah, I think Leeds would be coming up as winners, to be honest with you. But you know, he's coming. We got rid of. I mean, everybody was saying like, "Well, you got the Premier League team." No, we hadn't. We got rid of over 10 players. I think it was about 13 players we got rid of, and you know, on high wages that weren't particularly the best players. We sold Maddison and we sold Barnes, two very good players.
Right.
Neither of them particularly asked to leave, but they generated us 80. Well, with those two and then also Castagna going to Fulham, we made £96 million. So we were able to go out and buy very early on. Yes, we could have held out for more money probably, but sold them early, and that allowed us to do our business early. So we got like the likes of Fatawu, Mavadidi. We got some loanies in as well. So Cashade, of course, that you know you put back. So the business was done very early. We needed the thing with Enzo is we needed him. The team was on such a low. I mean, nobody ever. Well, yes, teams do expect to go down. Obviously, you know, when you come straight back up, that's the fear. But we'd been up for sort of 9 seasons. We'd won the damn thing. We'd won the FA Cup recently. You know, and this is why we were in PSR trouble. Relegation wasn't in our thoughts.
Right.
We never thought necessarily we'd go down, and then died a slow death, and we went down. And everybody was sort of, we'd had Brendan Ball for that long, and that was so boring. And he came in 6 days after he'd won the Champions League. Buzz about the place, the buzz that he gave the place was like, yeah, brilliant. And then reality set in, and like you guys, oh God, he's Pep's number 2. He won the under-23 Premier League with Man City. Oh, hang on, he only had 13 games at Parma, and they got rid of him. Yeah, and you suddenly got to think like, what was he? You know, is he this Messiah? We absolutely set off a decanter. Here's where we kind of start to wonder about him. We should have won that, and we should have beaten all the record points, and we should have had it in the bag by March, etc. Something started to go wrong. We lost to Leeds twice. We lost to Middlesbrough twice. We lost to Plymouth, who were in the bottom 3 at the time. We struggled to beat QPR. Things weren't quite working out, but he wouldn't change anything. Now, I'm all for, you know, if something, you know, stick to a plan and don't keep swapping it around.
I think Pep Guardiola is an example by himself, right? As in, we all know that famous Champions League final. And I remember me and Chris discussing about it, and the fact that he didn't have a DM in the 2021 final.
Players to do it, you know, we've not got Manchester City players, you know. And
exactly.
We were thinking like, what? Make changes, and sometimes he'd make substitutions that were spot on, and then the next game, he'd be like, what's he taking him off for? And there's some weird, you know. And I think had we won the league at a canter, we would have been probably more annoyed at him going. And we knew he would go. You know, he was Pep's number 2, you know, and anybody that's linked with Pep is always going to, be wanted, if you like. So we knew he would be going. We knew it would be a stepping stone for him. He reminds me very much of Kante. You know, they obviously also went to Chelsea, but we thank them for what they did. We love them for what they did. But F off now and go and get on, because you pissed us off. Because they both of them left at the first opportunity.
Got it.
And I'm sure we'll come on to this later. I just don't know, A, whether he's the right manager for you. B, you're the right club for him.
Wow.
The only good news for him is that come December,
You got me sweating already, Chris. You got me sweating already. I swear. Like, okay, you know what?
honest. I'm
Chris,
being
Chris,
honest.
let's get it real. Okay, chat here. By the way, chat, OP, big up to the chat again. I see a lot of people joining now. So hopefully everyone is joining. Trust me, this stream is going to be goated. And again, I know that not just Chelsea fans, even EPL fans would love to know it. Because I think Chris, who's probably seen so much of the Premier League, I think is second to none in terms of the way he puts across. And I think why I love Chris is about the way that he puts facts across no matter what. He doesn't care. And that's what I think we would love to hear as fans, right? You know, Chris, I'll be very honest. You've told me off stage we were discussing about, people telling you that Ankit is not very happy about this appointment. That was all of a couple of days when I heard it. I went mad, I went crazy, I raged, I ranted, etc. And then basically I was like, okay, fine, we're stuck with him. Let's see what are the positives. I made an entire kind of tactical, board analysis, everything, and people here know it. And for me, like, yes, again, we are trying to be, kind of looking at positives, and I know you're saying the facts, but it took me a while to kind of get positive about it. But now that you say this, and I think, let's be real, as in, you're not just saying because of the fact that he's going, because of the fact that you've seen people go earlier. So unlike, say, with all due respect to younger Leicester fans, I'm pretty sure you're saying it as is, because that's how you've been. And I think that tells me, does Maresca, does he require a number two better than what he has right now in the Premier League? As in, I was talking to you about Cesc Fabregas, and then we decided not to have him. But would you say that was something that you were at least expecting being appointed at Chelsea?
No, I think, to be honest with you, what you needed was just a package with more experience than he's got.
Yeah.
You are a club that, on recent history, are one of the big clubs.
Yeah,
you're used to winning things. You the way that you've worked both under your previous owner, you if you don't win something for one season, they're gone. And this is why I made the joke that he's joined Chelsea. Don't worry, because he'll be out of a job at Christmas, but pantomime work will be available for him. And if he lasts that long, if you don't have a good start to the season. And when look at our results. When we were 17 points clear, and we were top, and we'd only lost one game, etc., etc. Look at those games individually. These were our first 4 games in August last season. We beat Coventry at home 2-1. We beat Huddersfield Town, who would go on to get relegated, 1-0. We would beat Coventry. We'd beat Cardiff, who were near the bottom. We beat them 2-1. We beat Rotherham, who would be the worst team that this league has seen in I don't know how long. We beat them 2-1. Where's all these fantastic wins? Yes, we went on and we put 4 past Southampton, 5 past Stoke, etc. But they weren't the norm. They were the exception. So are you going to... Are you as fans of Chelsea going to be happy scraping a 1-0 win here or a 1-0 win there?
See, that's where we are getting to, and that's why I want to have this conversation with you, because I think we all know, we spoke briefly on your channel as well, Chris, about Mauricio Pochettino, right? Now, listen, as in Mauricio Pochettino also kind of signed up to fail. And that's what basically it was, in my personal opinion. Like I said earlier, chat yahan par janti, because for me, someone who was a Spurs manager, who was in the dugout in the Battle of the Bridge, the famous one where Leicester and Chelsea had a connection for a reason, right? For obvious reasons, right? And I think at that moment, you kind of knew that unless Mauricio Pochettino really, takes it off the bat and gets us back to where we belong directly, there were very little chances of the Stamford Bridge faithful to actually.
Let me just ask you a question there, Ankit. When you're saying that, wasn't it Cesc Fabregas who was on the Sky and said, I don't want Spurs to win the league?
I think there were multiple people. I think I remember.
Cesc Fabregas did it, and yet you were saying you wanted him to come in as his number 2.
But you know what?
Let's be honest with you. If Pochettino had gone on this season and won you the treble, you wouldn't have minded where he'd come from.
No, I definitely hear you. Sorry about that, but yeah.
Who didn't? No. We'll come on to the defense, I'm sure, but
okay, so again, let's try and break it down to the positives and the negatives. From what you have seen over a year, right? As in over the last year. Again, yeah, I think it's clear that, let's be real, announcement nahi hua. I was hoping that by the time the stream happens, it's announced. And yes, guys, people are waiting for the UCL stream for sure. There will be a ultimate UCL preview coming out in the morning, first thing in the morning. You're getting a video from me. I promise that, already in the works. But like the way that you've said about things, why he may not fit at Chelsea, because of the reasons that, okay, fine, he lost the plot at midway through the season. Obvious reasons are that, having been at Man City, he has seen how a big club success is seen. But at the same time, has he basically managed those big egos directly? Has he managed big transfer budgets, right? But in terms of basically his philosophies, are there philosophies, you said about not changing that philosophy, right? About not changing the philosophy. And again, for people who are just joining or not watched our previous streams, we are talking about the philosophy. About, obviously, his main philosophy, what I understand, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, is like he definitely believes in a possession football, positional play. He believes in definitely a little bit of switch of play or a dynamism from the fullback position. But at the same time, he believes that uh, uh, playing to the traffic is what he calls, because of the fact that he makes sure that the forward kind of drops back, the center forward drops back, links up, and you kind of create almost like a 3 to 5, right, at times, in terms of the gameplay. But what are the positives? Because for me, some of the things which Pochettino, again going back to him, were negatives was, I think, the way he started off in terms of press conferences. Because the first thing that I think a fan sees is how the manager kind of addresses. Like, for example, I'll tell you, Pochettino, again, respect to him in the end that he got there. And of course, Potter also had issues there in terms of, just accepting mediocrity, publicly. He started off by saying that, okay, we are a winning club, we want to win, I'm here to win the Premier League, and so on and so forth. And then he changed his stance when he understood that a squad was totally changed. Of course, he knew about it. It was not a secret. I know, thanks to our sporting directors. And then what happened is he decided to change his stance a little bit, day by day or week by week. Now, if he says, Maresca, that he believes in what he does and it does not change, does he stand that even in the press conferences or a persona? Do you see him like just being strong enough and actually, not really be fickle-minded in terms of what his objective is? Do you think that will come? Because that is what Chelsea needs, really, right?
He was very. He had his style of play. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew how it was. It was a style that was completely alien to us. If Chelsea do their own brand of sleeping bags, you'll sell out, because he said it's like a game of chess, and sometimes it was like watching a game of chess. It was boring football, but when you're winning and you're 17 points clear at the top, you accept it. What he has got is he can take players, and I'm going to say Ndidi, I'm going to say Ricardo, and I'm going to say Vestergaard. Three of them who were probably we were writing off. Hadn't had very good end of seasons last season. Vestergaard had been awful since he'd come here. Don't know why Rodgers bought him. And he made it was like having three messes. Suddenly these players, he's able to look at players and go, well, actually, if you play like this, you'll be good. And he's that way, it's brilliant. But he doesn't play with fullbacks. With Luke Thomas, who, without Luke Thomas, I mean, yes, I know he went to Sheffield United, then he went to Middlesbrough, but without him the season before, we would have been absolutely up the poop, because he was the only left back we had. We had Christensen, who's a brilliant left back, brilliant buy that we made in last January. He's gone out. He does not play with left back, with full backs at all. So he has three across the back, and then he has like a what's the word I'm looking for? A fourth one at the right hand side who goes into midfield when you're attacking. And this
he basically inverts and underlaps rather than overlaps, right? Basically, a fullback who, instead of going outside, joins the midfield within and comes back. When
and that's basically what Ricardo, his position was. So he'd be up in the middle and attacking, but if we were defending, he would come back. That was the idea. Didn't always work out, and we got caught out by it so often. it was scary. But look, when it worked, it worked. My worry is that you will eventually. I think he'll do good for you, but that's that word, eventually.
Yeah, and how long can we wait?
He would have got the time at Leicester. If we'd gone down, we'd have probably stuck with him to try and bring us back up. If he's not producing, like I said to you on my channel yesterday, come sort of January, February, if you're out the 2 cups, if you get some bad draws and you're out the 2 cups, yeah, and you're only sort of sat mid-table, will that be enough for Chelsea? I don't think it will be, and I think he'll go.
I think, like I said earlier as well, I think it's probably that last throw of the dice that you're trying to prove being Todd Burley. And again, Todd Burley is the name. To be honest, we all know it's Iqbali and the sporting directors, right? The sporting directors and Iqbali basically have taken this last, I think, almost egoistic chance, saying that okay, we have scouted it, we know what we are doing. We want to stamp our authority, and I think either it's kind of it'll be like a sixer, or it'll be like you're gone. Simple as that,
like
right?
I said to you yesterday, Ankit, you've taken, and like him or loathe him, Pochettino knew what he was doing. All right, you could argue he's never actually won anything, but he's a good manager. He's managed the big name players.
Experience. I think is a key word.
He's got the experience. You've gone down that young coach, maybe see what happens time with Potter, and look how that turned out. And you've got a manager coming in here with no experience of first team football. Yes, he's Pep's number 2, but look at Arteta. How long did it take him? I mean, the Arsenal fans still want him out, but will you give Maresca the time that Arsenal have given Arteta? And all you're going to do then is
100% no, 100% no, Chris, and that's the reality of it. Like, I know the owners and the directors would want that, but I think the scenes at Stamford Bridge will be quite clear. As in, already, trust me, Chris, I know that no disrespect to Enzo Maresca, and by the way, he is an Italian manager, as he says that he's worked with some fantastic coaches like the Italian managers like Marcelo Lippi, Carlo Ancelotti, and Manuel Pellegrini. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think in his Malaga days, if I'm not wrong, Manuel Pellegrini actually coached him as well. Remember, he was a player, decent number 6 at that. But the reality is that I think even before the appointment, already when the rumbling started, because again, today Jose Mourinho has been confirmed more or less that he's going to Fenerbahce. Imagine, I know that people say that Jose Mourinho is finished, etc. Listen, for all the people out here who think that way, come on. As in, if Ranieri can win the Premier League, when he won, I know it was one-off.
Mourinho won the conference a couple of seasons ago.
Great example, Chris. Great example, because I think Roma, and people, correct me if I'm wrong, people, everyone here tell me, Roma for the last 2 seasons have actually done better in the league compared to this season. I know that the vibes were there. We had the vibes with Lampard the first time around, but we all know how it ended, right? As I'm just saying, right? As much as I love my legend Lampard, right? But the reality is that you don't win things with vibes. I know Mourinho tells you it's vibes, but the reality is that you need to get that out of players. And today the players have changed. I think you cannot get respect from day one. I know that should be the case if you're a professional, but unfortunately with the social media world and how the players are, just the lifestyle, I think things have changed. And if you get someone like a Mourinho in a dugout, or maybe even a Tuchel or a Conte for the next tier, if you have to speak, I think from day one it's easier for the players to kind of just be on the job compared to this, because they'll wonder, okay, fine, congratulations, he's won the championship. Palmer and Lavia obviously will be okay because they have worked under him, but the others will probably be judging their career because, like, people like Enzo Fernandez, his namesake, people like, for example, maybe for all due respect, it could be Reece James, who's a Chelsea man through and through. Will they actually understand basically what this means, and will they be able to respect this man? Like, again, he has a lot of positives in terms of the tactics. I get that from the get go. Like how Sari had, like I can relate this to almost Mauricio Sari. Sari ball was a thing, right? And we all thought, okay, fine, Chelsea is going to change the way that Chelsea has been playing for years together, and it happened for half a season. If you remember, Sari did very well for half a season, and same thing happened with Maresca at Leicester. I know he won the league, but the championship and first half of the season he dominated. So for him to like motivate them, or rather get them to perform at that level from day one, do you think that, like, do you presume almost that Maresca will probably stick to how Chelsea were playing, or you think that no, he's not going to change his philosophy and is going to get his philosophy from day one? And what are the kind of players you think will do well under him?
I think he will try to change it, because that's what he did at Leicester.
Okay.
He came in and said, right, what you've had isn't working. This is how I'm going to do it. And it was quite. He took a bit of flack when things weren't going right, and he basically said, "Look, if you don't like it, I'll leave." That was his attitude, and he actually virtually said that. And I think he'll do the same with Chelsea. I think he'll come in, he'll go, "It's my way or the highway." This is the way you've played before, how's it worked out for you for the last couple of seasons? And I think he will say, this is how I'm going to do. And he will nail his colours to the mast, and he will, die on that if need be. Like I say, I think as an outsider, I think what surprised us was the fact that, you've got somebody with Pochettino's experience being replaced with somebody with no Premier League experience. I think had we been having this conversation in 12 months' time, I think that would be better for you, because he'll have had that Premier League experience. And I think it would probably be, hopefully he would have kept us up. We could have understood it more then. But you're going to, what he's going to do for you is going to have a goalkeeper that is a sweeper keeper.
Yep, very good point.
I see you already being linked with our goalkeeper.
I was about to bring it up. By the way, yes, we'll come to other players as well, Sakura.
Like I say, it's not Chelsea FC, it's Leicester B, isn't it? Really, but
like I said, it's basically a combination of Chelsea, Brighton, and Leicester, and Man City, mind you. And that I think that is what our idea has become. Although other clubs used to follow us, but how things have changed, right? And that's football. That's reality.
So it has to say, it has a goalkeeper that is very much a sweeper keeper. He comes out, and he's nearly been caught out a couple of times, because they will notice him and they'll say, oh, he's way off his line. I have seen Hermansen literally just outside the centre circle.
Wow. Oh my God. Are you serious? Guys,
Our defense at times plays so high that you're in your opposition half, and if you can imagine the opposition half but in front of the circle in the centre, that's how high our defense is. So I hope you've got some speedy centre backs, because you're going to need them, because he plays so high.
We bought one from you. Although he's been injured forever. Obviously, I'm referring to Wesley Fofana here.
That's a shame, that, isn't it? Shame he got injured, but thanks for the 60 million.
It's crazy. Okay, by the way, I'll just give a few shout out in the chat, Chris, if you don't mind, just a few seconds. Big up to Manaj here. Yes, absolutely. Again, there is excitement, but there's fear at the same time. And I say fear, not just nervous leadership, Manaj. You know why exactly, the reason why you're saying that. Again, a lot of people are here asking about the players in particular, which we are getting to. That's the next conversation that we're going to have for sure. Like Pudin asked, as well as basically, the others asking about like the academy, etc. Sakura has been asking. Absolutely, that is one thing that hame karna hai for sure. Lekin again, Devesh is right. Coming back to Chris's point, now because of the fact, and again, one more aspect is like, again, you had, if I'm not wrong, Wout Faes was the guy who kind of went on the rightish side when that happened.
Well, you say that. In the last few games, if you add back three, it was always, if he was fit, it was always Vestergaard in the middle. Now, Vestergaard has the turning circle of the Titanic. I mean, he cannot he's got two speeds, basically slow and stop. And but my God, he can tackle, and he would run up with the ball. He actually, with Winks, had the best number of passes, I think, in the Championship. We would spend literally 5 minutes just passing between the defenders.
See, that is what actually is not something which I'm looking forward to. I'll be very
get used to it. Get used to it. And the number of times that Hermansen would pass the ball out to, say, Winks, but Winks is being marked. So instead of booting it up the field, I mean, one time, Hermansen played it out to Winks because he didn't have any options. Winks was being marked. The guy saw what was happening, ran in front of Winks, got the ball, and scored. And at half time, Enzo said to Hermansen, "Do not change your style. If you start booting the ball upfield because of what happened, I'll take you off."
Yeah, I'll boot you. Basically,
that is risky. That is the risk that you take. You are so, as the guy said, you are so going to need pacey centre backs.
You know what? I am showing Mauricio Sarri for a reason. This is literally Pep plus Sarri, and it kind of is not too dissimilar to Poch, but the difference is that Pochettino, when we lost Christopher Nkunku, I think earlier in the season, as well as Romeo Lavia, I think he changed, and he changed basically for a good half of a season, and towards the end he changed it back to Poch ball, so-called Poch ball, and that again is part of it, the getting a fullback, inverted to midfield. But you had Pereira and James Justin. Again, I have started a couple of comments here. I'm coming back to the fullback and the midfield in particular, which is something that Chelsea fans especially would love to know. But in this era, Yash was asking, who was the most important player in Leicester? If you have to pick one position, because positional play is very crucial, right? The way he plays sucks. It gets your centre forward to come back, join the midfield, gets your fullback, join the midfield. It's all about midfield, right? But is it more important, like you said, the goalkeeper, or maybe the wingers who are asked to be wide and take people one-on-one? Which one position would you say?
That's really, really hard because there's a lot of positions. The wingers were fantastic.
Basically, the football goes through the most. Like we always had one side where we attack from, right?
But for me, the most important player was, and again, I think he's been linked with you, and that's Harry Winks. For £10 million, he came in, and at the start of the season, and I was doing watch-alongs, I didn't know it was him because I think 2 seconds ago he was up front right. Now he's back, back left, if you like. And how did he get back there? The guy is like, if you know the Duracell bunny off the adverts, he's like the Duracell bunny. He runs and runs, and he's got the brain. And it's quite funny because we said, Maddison went to Spurs to win trophies. Winks came to Leicester to resurrect his career and won a trophy. Guy was my player of the season. I know a lot of people say, no, Dewsbury Hall this and Dewsbury Hall that. Yes, he was very, very good, but Winks was outstanding. He really was. He would control that game.
In control, exactly. That was the word I was looking for. Because again, for people out there, again, if in case you've been living under a rock, the fact is, on paper, like Pochettino obviously started he started like a 4-3-3, but then Pochettino switched because he realized that Caicedo could not be the single pivot, and he made Enzo kind of work in that space. Sometimes Gallagher, and he used to rotate, and no one really got the exact position up until mid-season, and that's what the problem was. Whereas Enzo Maresca did it basically, I think, from day one. I think the difference was getting Harry Winks and making a decision that Harry Winks will be, or 4-3-3, the core pivot. It's very strange, but NDD almost played like the Kante role, if you remember. Like Kante used to go up and down, right? And with the Dewsbury Hall playing like the Enzo number 1, where I put in the picture, that was basically the role that Dewsbury Hall played, getting to the box rather. So again, if I'm equating with Chelsea, do we have that personal?
If you're looking at that lineup, leave it up for a second that you've got up there. So I don't know what names these are. Beast, is it?
Yeah, I just nicknamed them.
Okay.
Because they've got to be beasts, right? Under
The
Enzo
beast
Maresca,
would
let's get this
be
real.
that would be Ricardo Pereira.
Exactly.
Romeo, that is Harry Winks. That was his
Exactly.
role. He was just in front of the defense, but you know he could ping the ball up. You then got either side just in front
So it's
of
almost
him.
like the regista, the Italian regista. If you remember the Andrea Pirlo role, almost. I know it's big words, but Andrea Pirlo, if you remember the way that he used to play latter part of his career, kind of stay there and ping those balls. So maybe Enzo Fernandez could do that role for all we know. Like I know that I've put Enzo as more like a goal scoring midfielder position, the role that Drewsbury Hall played. But do you feel that this player, more importantly, has to be more aware of the position, or this player has to be better in the passing? Because there was a lot of short passing, as you said, that Leicester did, right? And I think possibly the latter.
There was so much short passing. Like I say, if you've got sleeping bags, take them to the ground with you, because it was at times that sometimes the crowd were shouting to pass the ball forward. You know, I remember watching them one time and the ball went forward and you're thinking, great, we're on a break. No, they stopped on the ball and passed it back into our own half. All right, they kept possession, but nothing came of it in the end, and it ended up all the way back at Madison Manson. It is all this short passing. And yes, it can work because you're waiting for the time to because like I say, Vestergaard would get the ball. He'd be in the opposition half. That's how high we were defending. He'd ping. He could put a pass, and he hasn't got the speed. He's got the speed of an elephant, but he can pass that. He can put a ball on a 5-pence piece at the other end of the pitch. It's perfect on that. But you'd wait, and then the wingers would come down the side, and God, don't start me on Daka. Wingers would come down the side, and again, they were very, very important to us. Two fantastic wingers. But I mean, I've just seen a guy there saying, "Bring Winks to Chelsea." I mean, I would say, how many players do you need? You know, your first team squad, you could fill up the top 60.
Yeah, that's the plan for the latter part of the stream for sure. Because for me, as important it is to get in players, it's also important not to again go back to where we were about not fitting the players inside a room. Come on, let's not get back there, because last season one of the few positives was we actually reduced the squad size, and what it backfired for sure, because we had the amount of injuries that no one would have imagined. And again, maybe Poch and his medical staff is to blame, maybe the owners are to blame. There's a lot of ifs and buts. But talking about players, I'll stick to the players right now, Chris, because the Leicester team, as we all know, Jamie Vardy, like he's a legend. And I don't think, and let's be real about that, people have a soft corner for Jamie Vardy. Of course, the Chelsea fans do. I know a lot of Arsenal fans won't, because of what he did there. He had a chance. But at the same time, if you actually think about it, is Jamie Vardy the right profile for Enzo Maresca in terms of his gameplay? Because the striker links up, you have your wingers kind of, or your number 8/10s go up in that, half spaces. Considering that, you think probably Jamie Vardy may not be the right person, but he did fit in Jamie Vardy quite well, right? So
you need Enzo will want your striker to be, it wins all his players to be able to play up front and at the back. And when you look at the heat map of the of say a Jamie Vardy or a Kelechi Iheanacho, Tom Cannon, Daka, any of our strikers, it was probably hotter in the centre circle than it was up front, because that's how he wants them to play. Again, you're going to then need a striker that is fast. Now, Jamie Vardy is 37, 38. Hopefully he'll sign another year's contract, but he will. I mean, he was the sort of player. He worked well. He's our top scorer again. I thought Kelechi Iheanacho would do better, because he was sort of the sort of come back and get the ball sort of player, where Jamie wasn't. But Jamie's adapted to the style. Some players did, some players didn't. Yeah, I mean, I want Jamie Vardy to stay for another season, try and do it. I mean, look, your defense, if you've been playing us for sort of what, let's say 70, 75 minutes, and it's still 0-0, and you're knackered, it's a hot day, and you suddenly see Jamie Vardy coming on off the substitute bench, your defenders are going to be going, sake, the last thing we need. So he's still got that. Do you know what I mean? He's been
So he does develop players. No, that is a very big aspect. What I understand, even it does not matter if you are experienced or not. He actually is a proper coach. And again, remember, we are trying to find positives. I know a lot of people are here. You're kind of definitely trying to fit in the box, even though it's not fitting. But the reality is that we got to find positives and work on it. I think one of the key aspects which has already come out of this great discussion, in my opinion, is the fact that he actually gets like a Harry Winks changed Harry Winks' style. Harry Winks worked that way throughout the season. A Jamie Vardy, for instance, a legend, mind you, a legend. That guy actually changed. His average position was so different to what it was basically in Leicester under Ranieri. But the pace factor, that's very key.
I'll tell you one thing though. I will tell you one thing about Maresca. He knows how to handle players. He knows what's needed. Jamie Vardy, he was our number one striker going into the season. He got injured and he was out for a hell of a long time. Kelechi Iheanacho came in and he scored about 6 goals on the trot. He got injured. Daka came in, scored 6 goals on the trot. He went off to AFCON. Cannon came in. He scored 3 or 4 on the trot. Then Vardy came back. And what he realised with Vardy is, look, he's 38. He cannot train, for 5 days and then play a game and have 1 day off. And what Enzo was doing, he recognised that, and he was he managed him well. He didn't, make him train every day. He'd have, shorter training sessions or slightly lighter training sessions, and that meant that when he came onto that pitch, he was ready for the game, if you like. He wasn't knackered. And the other thing with Jamie, and I don't know what whether you've got leaders or not in your team. You'll know whether any of your players are leaders.
See, that's an issue. Very, very well, a question, because for me, that has been an issue, and it as again, I'm old school a little bit. I said it last season, we should have kept Azpilicueta. This season we should have kept Thiago Silva just for the dressing room. Even for that matter, I know Chris may not agree with me, but I think a Ben Chilwell, there's a lot of speculation that it's time for us to let him go because he's way too injured. But I would say that he's one of them who's actually won with Chelsea, which is very few right now, and he actually knows English footballs, and I think it definitely matters in terms of culture. I would actually keep such people, but we don't. Even Gallagher, we were able to say. I don't know why.
Is when we were sort of November time, that was when our bad run started, and I'd said all season we're gonna hit the brakes at some point. We cannot go on, and even Enzo had said, "Look, it's great, enjoy it, but it's not going to be like this. We're not going to go the whole season only losing 1 or 2 games." Jamie Vardy took it upon himself to go in, and Enzo let him, and he had a players' meeting, and he sat them down and said, "Right, lads, come on, we had a 17-point lead. We've now lost that. Leeds are above us, whatever. What are we going to do about it?" And that, and Enzo trusted him to do that. And I'll tell you something, all the players liked Enzo. That's the thing. He had a great squad atmosphere. They respected him. If he dropped them for any reason, there was no moaning. They knew why. He wouldn't come out. He did not once come out and blame any of the players, not like Brendan Rodgers would do. He never threw any players under the bus. He backed his players. If somebody
what about the owners? Did he have, because he did mention once that I wanted more say in the transfer market, right? What about them? Did he was he kind of vociferous enough in that aspect? Like, how involved was he? I understand the player aspect of it, but what about the role aspect of it?
So sorry, say that again. Sorry. On the role in
terms of scouting and transfer market and the owners, the communication, because he did come out and mention once that he wanted more control, but he kind of corrected that in the next interview.
Well, yeah, yes, he did come out, and as I said to you yesterday, that's my big worry, because there's no way your guys are going to give him control. He's going to be a coach, and that's all. Look, come in January, he wanted, because we had taken on loan a very good, Italian player called Cashade, and he hadn't had many games, but then indeed he got injured and was about to get a good run in the team. And because Pochettino wanted to play him for about 20 minutes in the whole season, he went back to his parent club. I think it was was it Spurs or Chelsea, somebody like that. Anyway, and you know,
That's Chris
he
for you guys.
wanted, yeah, he wanted, and I'm forgetting the guy's name now, but this midfielder, attacking midfielder, the role that Cassidy would have filled.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't go for him because of all this PSR and all that. And as it happened, it was a blessing in disguise because the guy, as soon as it was actually at Leicester. He was actually there ready to sign, and it all fell through. And Enzo was not happy about that at all.
Oh, okay. I remember the Inter Milan player. I remember.
Yeah, that's the one. Yes.
Oh, I forgot the fuck. Anyone can in the chat can help me out. The Inter Milan player was almost signed for Leicester.
He was out then. I think he was out for the rest of the season. He had to have an operation, so it wasn't a bad thing that we didn't sign
Stefano
him.
Sensi.
But
Ankit Sharma in the house.
That was it. Yeah, Stenzi. Thank you, Uncle.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he was then out injured, but he really wanted him. So yes, they were going for the players. He said the players he wanted. So that makes me think that he was involved. The players that he brought in at the start of the season were very much the players that fitted into his style. Okay. Callum Doyle, it was a left-footed centre-back. That's what he wants, a left-footed centre-back. Again, I don't know if you've got one.
And we have Colville, we have Body Shield. So I think we are good there. I know Kukurea could also tuck in there. That's an option that Potter used to play with. But I think another question was about academy, the usage of the academy. I know in the championship, you probably did not take as many chances, I'm assuming, because you had to come up. But do you see him as one of them? Because the current owners and directors, I think either they're going to be used or they're going to be sold. Nothing in between.
One of the things Enzo did was that he said, right, all the levels, so the under 18s, the under 21s, the under 23, every team plays the same style. Mm-hmm. So that if that player comes up from the under 23s into the main team, I know that he can fit into that position. I know if he's a left centre back, that always where he fits.
I think Tuchel had that in during his tenure, and I think Pep has had that in Man City.
Makes total sense. Bit of a cock up now he's leaving, but at the time it made total sense. We had a defender called Ben Nelson. Mm-hmm. I've no doubt you'll put an offer for him in about 3 years' time because you do go for our players. But no, he's one to look out for. We've got Alves, we've got McAteer, and again, and their name's gone. But we've got those youth players, and there was 2 players. Alves was one of them. I can't remember the other one. They were about to break into the team when they got injured. And unfortunately, they never quite, because he won't. That's the other thing. He will not rush a player back.
Got it. I think you said that about Cassidy as well. I think he had an injury as well, and I think the timing about Stefano Sensi deal falling through and him being called back on loan probably came around the time when he was fit again. So I think for all the people who don't follow Leicester week in week out, Chris is here and he kind of literally watches every minute, guys.
He was injured before, but then we had Ndidi as well. But then indeed he got injured. So Cassidy, having got fit, would have then been that number 9, if you like. So he would have got the run in it. So if you pulled him back because he wasn't getting game time, possibly he would have done it from that point onwards. I think you were just absolutely up to your neck in injuries. I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah. See, guys, again, if you have any questions, Chris is here. He doesn't come every day. And again, I would love for Chris to come here every day because we've had some crazy chats in the past.
We have.
And hopefully that continues again. Again, congratulations to Leicester to come back in the Premier League. Just don't finish above us, Chris. One request. It'll be crazy if Enzo Maresca kind of finishes below Leicester, like I said earlier. But I know the deduction is kind of possible for both the clubs, especially for Leicester.
Look, we're going to start on a minus point situation. So there's no way we're going to finish above you. Give me 17th now, and I'll bite your hand off for it.
Yeah, I understand the feel. But before you go, Chris, and again, I'll take the chats as well. I think there were a few other questions. But regarding the players, I know I've kind of nicknamed this for fun because of the mood that I was the other day. But again,
I love that. I can say I love that guy that's called It's Cold.
I think a lot of questions came around Cole Palmer as well in the chat. And I think one of the facts that you had wingers who took on people one-on-one and had pace Now, Cole Palmer is brilliant, but that's not his style. But at the same time, he's played in the Enzo Maresca, won the Premier League 2 under him. So, in this case, in such a scenario, by the way, Cole Palmer can play a false nine and could connect to the midfield. Like, just a guess from what you've seen in Enzo Maresca ball. Do you see Cole Palmer being used as a false nine, or you see basically Maresca kind of, changing a little bit by playing one left winger? I know Raheem Sterling has not been informed, but something in that category on the left hand side rather.
He will very much play, like I said, the one striker, and I can't really. I don't want to comment on Cole Palmer because I haven't really seen enough of him. So it would be very unfair of me to say anything. So
he's had a fantastic season, and I know in terms of numbers, it's in a history. I mean, okay, he's just behind Drogba and Lampard in the season he's had, and that's how good in terms of numbers.
He's had a good. Yeah, I've heard he's had a good season, but I haven't watched any. I refuse to watch Premier League because, guys, it's been great having no VAR. Just I'd mention that. But yeah, where you've got your Brachido, is it, or something like that? Move him a bit more forward, and that's the role that he was playing.
Yeah, I think Caicedo basically becomes a box to box, and I think if he kind of moves forward, or in the other side, it could be the other side as well. I know you have put disaster Disasi, who people are kind of naming him, but can you see a case because of the fact that we don't have to out and out wingers because Cole Palmer will definitely start? Maybe, just maybe, he will have the goalkeeper kind of sweep, but have one of the fullbacks, because you could have had that. Like you mentioned about basically not using a left-footed left back rather than using James Justin on one side. James Justin, yes, he inwards, but James Justin is someone who actually bombs down the pitch, right? So do you expect him to go like we have a guy called Malo Gusto, who basically, touchwood, he is as good as basically in the future, not now, a Reece James material, right? And if he could play on the left-hand side, do you see him play with one fullback who kind of is right-footed, the James Justin way, or do you see, the Cole Palmer?
James Justin didn't play fullback. We had no fullbacks on either side. James Justin is a brilliant player, one of my favourite players, and he can play on the left of defence, he's right-footed, but he can play on the left, the right, or the centre. It's mainly left or right, and quite often when Doyle was injured for Man City, he would fill in that role. And to be honest with you, Doyle couldn't get back in. If he goes the same way as he went at Leicester, you'll have no use of fullbacks whatsoever. He got rid of the fullbacks at Leicester. Ricardo, who was the fullback, he turned him into that, say, midfielder, dropping back into that position. But Christensen, who we'd only just bought last January, so he'd only been with us for 6-7 months, absolutely just got rid. He's gone. He's out on loan. He's come back, but he won't. Well, he may stay now. Maresca's gone. I don't know. He said, "I do not want to play as in a back three. I am a fullback," and he could bomb forward, and he is so exciting. And Maresca went, "No. He doesn't fit into the way I want to play. He's not prepared to change to play in that role. Therefore, I'm sending him out on loan."
Yeah, and Maresca is the same, right? Like Shubham is asking here, basically you said it, right? He's almost like a Mauricio Sarri or a Pochettino in terms of not actually basically changing things and believing in his philosophy. I think we've discussed enough on this with Shubham, right, already. But I think the big question also is like who's coming next at Leicester. I think Cooper is being, I think it's a coup for Brighton. It seems like it. At least the news tabloids say that.
This is what I'm getting a little bit annoyed about now. Come on, Chelsea, sort it out. If you want him, get him. So at least then we can get somebody else in. Because don't forget, in a week's time, it's the transfer window opens. Yeah. So we need that. Is it a week's time or 2 weeks' time? Possibly 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think I'm assuming this time I think it's a week's time. I think the transfer window kind of opens early, but yeah, that's actually facts, right? But I think very well explained in terms of the tactics. Again, we have broken down. We are just presuming again, people.
No, it's the 14th. It's 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time. Yeah. Is it okay?
So who's coming in as our manager? Everybody was saying they wanted Pochettino. Look, he isn't coming. We couldn't afford him. We've got enough money problems with PSR as it is. Ruud van Nistelrooy is the one that's climbing very quickly up the betting. And he's out of a job at the moment. So, You know,
he did well in Holland, mind you. He did well in Holland.
Yes, he did. Potter, everybody wants Potter, but he's probably possibly going to go back to Brighton. I would have Cooper. I would have Cooper at the drop of a hat. De Zerbi's been linked. I mean, everybody in the Dog's been linked. I mean, as long as it's not Frank Lampard or Scott Parker. But the Corberon at West Brom, he's the one that's leading the chase. But he has just signed a new contract not so long ago, last season. So that would cost us a lot of money to buy him out. And that will affect, obviously, our PSR target. So, you know, it is interesting. I would be happy.
Imagine Pochettino kind of going there and us getting Maresca. You know, that'd be crazy.
To be honest with you, it won't happen, but I would love that. I can imagine. And then just for Pochettino to say, I want to come, I want to stay 3 or 4 years, and I want to get us above Chelsea. That would be absolutely brilliant.
Chris, one last take, because I know Devesh is a Manchester United fan, and I know there's a lot of connection with McKenna and Manchester United already. We were, keeping a tabs on McKenna. Apparently, he was getting a deal extension, and that's why he kind of, decided, okay, fine.
Sign that now,
But if you have to pick one manager coming out of the championship between McKenna and Maresca, who you just expect, I know it depends on where they are, but who do you put as a better bet for a club, for a big club in Premier League to kind of hire in between the two? Who would you pick?
No doubt McKenna.
Wow. Oh my God, Chris, no, after all this chat, I didn't want this. Why?
We fell out with the EFL over the fact of that they said wanted to charge us, and we said you're not charging us. So what Maresca was not put in the Championship Manager of the Season award. Singhia from Hull.
But we know how awards go, Chris. Come on, we know how awards go. Come on.
Yeah, but McKenna was in, and I said even if Maresca was in the top 3 to win the Championship Manager of the Season, I was still giving it to McKenna. His team was unreal. The number of times I was doing a watch long. Yes, Ipswich are losing. There's only 2 minutes to go. They're losing. We're going to make that.
So that's box office, right? That's box office, basically.
Then they'd get 2 goals and win, or a goal and draw. They just would not give up. And I read this in I think it's Sky, that they are saying that the directors at Ipswich are saying that's probably going to be their best bit of business this summer is keeping McKenna.
Wow.
If I could have got McKenna in, I would have sacked Enzo to get McKenna in.
Wow. That's a revelation and a half, Chris. That's a revelation and a half. Like, you know what? I was raging for both. I'll be honest. I was raging for both. Nothing against them. But the reality is that as in probably I saw McKenna as more like even far more inexperienced, although he has managed under Jose, under Ole in the Premier League.
I don't think he would have been a good choice for Chelsea. He would have been Potter Mark II.
For Brighton, I think that would have been a good one. For Man United, Chelsea, even I'm not sure. Exactly my point.
I think it'd been too soon for him. And I think, to be honest with you, I don't think he would have come to Chelsea because he's the Man United boy. That's his team that he supported.
And see, that is why with Pochettino, I was in 2 minds anyway. But Chris, great stuff there. Absolutely fantastic stuff. People, in case you do not know where Leicester TV exists, just check out the link below. Chris, what's upcoming? Of course, Euros coming up. I'm pretty sure we'll have some conversations, hopefully then. And of course, what happens in both our clubs. But what are you looking forward to this summer?
We've got the Euros coming up. The main thing at the moment was when the season finished, I thought, I'll have a couple of weeks off now. And of course, it's you've come and thrown a spanner in that works. I've got 7 o'clock tonight. I've got Rob Tanner coming on from the Athletic, and he's going to be talking us through on things. He's very, very good. And we'll be doing England and Scotland stuff for the Euros. Probably nobody else, but and then you got the transfer windows. It's who we're going to lose, the PSR. It's going to be a busy summer for us.
It's going to be a crazy one for sure.
How many players can we stop Chelsea from buying? That's going to be the question.
You know what? And that's the next conversation, because I know there's craziness going on in Twitter space, in X as we call it, for the next Chelsea striker. And I know you kind of well left the Daka question, but I
You can
think
have Daka. Have him, please. I'll
but
drive him
I
down.
don't think he's the right man, Chris. I don't think he's the right man.
No, seriously, he will do brilliant for you.
But we need someone to come on.
I'm joking. He's crap.
We have Nicholas Jackson, mind you, he's brilliant. But Nicholas Jackson is the my mom could finish better. You know what I mean? And that's the reality.
I mean, Daka, when he came in, when Vardy was injured, was brilliant. He scored 6 in 5 or something like that. His speed is unbelievable. He's as fast. Well, he's as fast as Vardy was in his time. But his confidence was shot. And this is the thing that annoyed me about Enzo. Enzo should have taken him out of the firing line because the fans were getting on his back. And it's not right because if, Jamie Vardy had a bad game against Bristol, missed 4 sitters. Nobody got on his back because it's Jamie Vardy. Daka, everybody was getting on to him. And the best thing he could have done would have been to put him off the bench for a couple of weeks, not even put him in the squad. Just let him maybe put him with the under-23s, get his confidence back. No, he stuck with him. And like you say, my mother could have scored more and she's dead. That's how bad it was at the end.
Crazy, Chris. But big up to you, Chris. Again, thanks for coming and spending. I know that I kind of took an extra 20 minutes than what I promised, but you know what? That's what happens when you chat with Chris. I
don't mind it. No. Things have changed. I've been all right for time, so don't worry.
Perfect.
And also, like I say, I hope I've cheered you up and made you feel better about Enzo.
Yeah. You know what? I know the questions are going on, but I think I cannot let you go before answering the last one. But I think you've seen the championship closer. I think a lot of speculation going on that Ipswich might take off Omari Hutchins from us for just about 20 million. Like, I know that this guy has just come from Arsenal Academy to Chelsea, and I think he's kind of lit up the championship almost to the end, especially. And today's market, and I know Leicester. If it was Leicester, let's be real, Leicester selling to a Premier League team, we know what the price would have been. let's get that real. But I think you see a player like him because we've had Madueke, Mudryk, who are kind of very raw but have potential. Omari Hutchinson probably is more ready right now. Do you think Omari Hutchinson is a player for the Premier League, or we should rather loan him right now, or just go for a profit?
I mean, I think it's the sort of player that, again, we expect too much of players and managers. Years ago, and I'm old, right? I'm very old, and a player would get time to settle into a team and work the way through. Now, if they don't hit the ground running, he's fair. I mean, that was the thing with Cassidy when he came, was he didn't hit the ground running. And suddenly, he's not the best player, is he? Yes, but some players...
He had a fantastic preseason. I mind you, Chris, he was like one of the best preseasons that I've ever seen a youngster have at Chelsea. That's how good a preseason he had last season.
Yes, yeah. So give him time, and you can't keep... I mean, this is one of the things that everybody moans about Chelsea, is you buy all the youngsters and then you let them go out, Which outgoing was hurtful? Do you really want? I tell you, Wesley Fofana, I said when he left, I hope he breaks his leg and never plays football again.
We all know what happened then, but then we all know what happened.
I cannot stand. What annoyed me about him is that he was injured for most of the season before. He signed a new contract because he was injured, an extension. It was an extension. Said, thank you for the Leicester family being so nice, looking after me. I want to pay you back. And then what could he do? He went on strike to get the move.
Enzo Fernandez did the same thing with Benfica, mind you. Yeah, and I can understand how fan feels totally. But you know what? That's what happens. And that's the reality of the football world today. And
I'm going to just say we're just grateful for the 60 million for a guy.
I just hope he pays. You know what? And a lot of Chelsea fans are expecting him to be starting. I have not put him in my starting 11 right now because he's come after long-term injury twice in the last 2 years. So I think let's give I know he's still a kid. He's not really a kid, but you know what I mean. So I think we'll have to to give that, especially with the pressure at Chelsea. But Chris, absolutely fantastic discussion, Chris. People, I'm going to take few more comments. यहाँ पर मैं striker etc. I have to discuss with the chat. But Chris, I'll let you go right now. Again, it's first of many in the season. Hopefully, people, Leicester Ladai TV, please check it out. Fantastic channel. You can see quizzes, you can see Premier League, you can see Euros and whatnot. You can see like tonight, there's a person from Athletic coming in on Chris's channel. And Chris, by the way, does have a
sorry, I've just seen drink water. Thank you for that money as well.
I know that. That's what I didn't bring that up with you, but that's the reality. So, except for Kante, I think you are kind of in the profit. I know Chilwell, you were not very happy anyway. So I think in the end, it's all.
I was
good
sad to see Chilwell go. I was sad to see Kante go. Who else did you have offers? Fofana, I wasn't so sorry to see go. Drinkwater, I wasn't sorry to see go. I think he was very overrated, as you found out. Easy money, but it was just the way it happened. Every player will move on. There's always a club that is bigger. Chelsea, you could lose players to Barcelona or Real Madrid, who technically you could say are bigger clubs. It's the way of football.
Yeah, and we also lose. I've lost a lot of players, and I remember I've been so emotional. But at the end of the day, football moves on. That's what the club greater than the player is what I would say at the end of the day. But Chris, final thing that at last and really the final thing, what this title is, what must Chelsea expect? Like, what is the realistic expectation from a Chelsea fan this season? Honestly, from Enzo Maresca in terms of the table, or maybe the cups.
I don't know if I dare say this. I mean, you finished eighth this season, was
sixth? We finished sixth. It seems like eighth, but we finished sixth.
If you finish fifth or sixth next season, that will be it. Because I think there's teams above you. Liverpool, I think, will struggle. The new manager coming in.
Yeah.
But you got Man City have still got Pep. Arsenal have still got Arteta. Aston Villa will build on what they've done. Unai Emery's just signed.
But they have UCL to counter.
Yeah, so that's three. You got Newcastle, so probably you might get fourth if you'd stuck with Pochettino, because it's not just because it's Pochettino, but because it's the same manager moving forward. Then I think you would have done better because you've got that continuity,
especially after losing the semi-final and final. Under the same manager, next time there's more probability that one wins it. Like we saw it under Conte, 2017 we lost the FA Cup final, 2018 we won it. I think that's kind of which I actually I agree with you. But let's hope for the best. I think hope is what keeps us alive, Chris. And hopefully we'll get some good football for a change to watch. At times Poch ball was not Poch ball, but this time looking forward.
Well, you enjoy Enzo ball. Take your sleeping bags along, and make sure you got plenty of black coffee.
Oh wow! I'll take it with a pinch of salt as well, Chris. But big up to you. I'll let Chris go, of course. But again, Leicester Ladai TV, guys, check it out for sure. I'm going to just continue for a few more minutes.
All the best for the season, mate. Take care.
Same to you for sure. Thank you, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Again, bye to Chris, everyone. Fifth for Chelsea, you guys will improve, says Kenny Fan TV in the house. Let's see again. Fifth, Kenny Fan TV. मैं लूंगा कब लूंगा जब basically चैंपियंस लीग में जो जिसकी बारे में बात करने वाले कल सुबह guys you will get a UCL ultimate fantastic preview from me, a video on Almighty Blues about that and why it's so historic. That particular point is very important next season. Why? Because अगर हम यहाँ पर हमारे UCL और UEL में जो clubs है they do well, it will help the next season of the Premier League, wherein the fifth team would probably get UCL the following year. And I think I would take that at this point in time. लेकिन along with the cup, याद है हम खेल रहे हैं यहाँ पर not just basically the Premier League, but also the English Cups, as important as basically the Conference League, as well as the Club World Cup जो next season हमने invite किया. लेकिन भाई सब लोग yes बिल्कुल अभी आएंगे भाई. Again we have to respect the panel, and again big up to Chris. Again मैं personally share करता हूँ guys. Chris is actually I know basically this is something that people may not know, but the reality is that Chris is someone that I actually learned content creation, not directly but indirectly, so as to speak. Initial year में 2021 में if you see a lot of my collabs थे Chris के साथ. Chris and of course a lot of others के साथ आप चेक कर सकते हो. वापस going back, it's all there in the playlist. Especially check out हमारा यूरो सीरीज चेकआउट करिए. वहां पर हमने कुछ फैंटास्टिक स्ट्रीम्स के साथ में अबाउट जस्ट स्काउटिंग फॉर द प्रीमियर लीग टीम्स एज वेल, और बहुत सारा एनालिसिस किया हमने एंड टू एंड प्लस ट्रांसफर न्यूज, और बहुत बैंटर चलता है. क्विज, हम दोनों क्विज, वी लव आवर क्विजेस. So I've been on his channel, he's been on our channel for the quizzes, and I think we've loved that bit. Again, I have to say one of the channels which has probably taught me directly or indirectly for sure. So do check that out for sure, guys. It's just not Leicester, but it does a lot of content in Premier League as well as international football. But coming back to the conversation, अब लोग कोई पूछा नहीं भाई ऑजीमैन को क्यों डाला है थंबनेल में. भाई सब लोग बोलिए, अगर स्ट्राइकर चाहिए चेल्सी को, कौन सा स्ट्राइकर चाहिए? क्विकली, ये लास्ट कॉन्वर्सेशन होगा इस स्ट्रीम का. कहीं ना कहीं हमने बात कर लिया टैक्टिक्स, वी हैव स्पोकन अबाउट द प्लसेस, द माइनसेस, ऑफ एंजो मरेस्का, हु इज इमिनेंट टू कम टू चेल्सी, जो स्पेकुलेटिवली 5+1 ईयर कर लिया है. वो कैसे 5+1 ईयर है भगवान जाने, लेकिन गोइंग विद दैट और गोइंग बाय उसका फिलॉसफी अभी इंप्लीमेंट करना ही पड़ेगा. विच इज अ स्ट्राइकर शुड चेल्सी इज रियलिस्टिकली गोइंग टू गो फॉर? याद रखिए ऑजीमैन का क्लॉज इज अराउंड 120 मिलियन. 120 मिलियन की बात हो रही है यहाँ पर. आई थिंक इट्स अबाउट 130 मिलियन यूरोज, 120 मिलियन पाउंड्स. दैट्स अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, ठीक है. लेकिन चेल्सी के पास है पीपल. कैसेडाई की बात हो रही थी जो लेस्टर गया था लोन में, याद रखिए. अगर बाई चांस मरेस्का देखता नहीं है उसको फर्स्ट टीम में, आई थिंक प्रॉब्ली ही इज वन हु कुड गो ऑन लोन बिकॉज ही इज इटालियन, गोइंग टू पॉसिबली नापोली का, हिम along with Lukaku sale जो 35 मिलियन का प्राइस टैग रखता है हिमसेल्फ. तो अगर वो दोनों चीज दे, फिर मे बी दैट 120 मिलियन may reduce to somewhere around 85 million. I think anything under 90 million, just because that Lukaku वाला 90 odd million जो था वो याद आता है, I think I would still be okay. But लेकिन Fabrizio ने बोल दिया है that at this point in time, as of now guys, as of now we are not going for Osimhen. लेकिन मैंने फिर भी डाला है थंबनेल में. द रीजन इज बिकॉज मुझे लॉजिक समझ में नहीं आया. फेब्रिशियो ने ये भी बोला है along with others that Chelsea are definitely going to go for a striker. तो एक स्ट्राइकर तो डेफिनेटली आएगा चेल्सी में. और अगेन वी डोंट वांट अ निकोलस जैक्सन पार्ट 2. एज मच एज आई लव जैक्सन इन टर्म्स ऑफ गेम प्ले, वो फिट होता है एंजो मरेस्का बॉल. और यस, एंकुंकू मे नॉट फिट बट ही कैन डेफिनेटली प्ले. ही इज एन एक्सपीरियंस गाय. बट मैंने मेम्फिस डिपाई के बारे में ट्वीट किया था, लोग बोले थे मेम्फिस डिपाई सिमिलर टू एंकुंकू है. I actually disagree. I think he brings far more experience. Joshua King, come on. Tony is cheaper now. बोल रहे Kenny fan TV, he could be one, क्योंकि बाकी clubs like Arsenal are going for Sesko, जो हमारा number 1 target था. Although वो ideal नहीं था, but Sesko is someone who brings physicality and heading ability, जहां पर ज्यादा better है compared to Nicholas Jackson. Although link up इतना better नहीं है in my opinion. Ivan Toney is the name. Dobic again. याद रखिए Girona did a crazy season. Pudin, La Liga fans obviously would like to see them repeat. Again, coming from the Man City connection of Girona, कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता नहीं होगा. Although the Man City connection, Dobic has not been anywhere connected to Enzo Maresca. ये जरूर बोलूंगा that एक और रीजन मैं देखता हूँ Victor Osimhen being there is not just because of the Chelsea connection, the African players connection, और जो African players है Chelsea के वो लोग बात कर रहे for with Osimhen for a time, and I know he may not fit the Enzo ball perfectly क्योंकि लिंक अप में is not as good as Nicholas Jackson, that's a reality guys. लेकिन फिनिशिंग एंड हेडिंग में फार बेटर है. वहां पर बेसिकली हो सकता है बिकॉज द इटालियन कनेक्शन एंड हिम नोइंग द इटालियन लीग, एंजो मरेस्का, हो सकता है ही हैज हिज सोर्सेस एंड ही हेल्प्स अस आउट. अब वो पता नहीं वेदर द डायरेक्टर्स विल टेक दैट हेल्प, आई डोंट नो. Isak, yes, Isak could be a target again. लेकिन will Newcastle sell both of Bruno Guimaraes and Isak in a window? Yes, Bruno Guimaraes might not be sold क्योंकि उसका अभी भी क्लॉज है जून के लिए, 1 महीना के लिए. They can still buy him, remember 100 million देकर, that is other teams. Again, एज की बात करें तो that is one reason why maybe age and maybe injuries as well. मैं बोलता हूँ even what do you say, जो मैंने सजेस्ट किया है Memphis Depay may not be possible. लेकिन I believe that Gyökeres, मैं यहाँ पर एक ट्वीट दिखाना चाहता हूँ आप लोग को भाई, honestly, and this is not just saying for the sake of it. At least I believe there are about 12 strikers जिनका UCL फुटबॉल है. I know Chelsea has a pool, I know Chelsea money talks, हमारा हिस्ट्री and all that, yes I get that. लेकिन जब आपने किया क्रेजी सीजन लाइक अ गिरासी हैज डन, लाइक अ डॉबिक हैज डन, आप जर्जी जैसे किया है बोलोनिया में, मुझे नहीं लगता दे विल गिव अप दैट एंड पॉसिबली गिव कमिंग टू चेल्सी, जहां पर एक इश्यू है चेल्सी का, श्योरिटी इन द स्टेबिलिटी पार्ट. मुझे लगता है वो unless it's a young Italian striker, unless it's someone who Maresca knows personally, maybe from Leicester, maybe from ex Man City. दैट कुड बी वन। नहीं यार, व्लाहोविच अगेन यूवेंटस का वही है जो आप देख सकते हो। मैंने जो यहाँ पर आई ट्राई टू मैग्नीफाई, जो मैंने ट्वीट किया आप लोग चेक कर सकते हो मेरा टेक उसमें, और उसमें आप वॉटकिंस और हाँ जॉन डुरान इज समवन दैट दे वेंट फॉर, बट अगेन इज ही अ स्टार्टर? नॉट रियली, इफ आई आस्क यू, इफ आई टेल यू इट विल बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू गेट बिग नेम्स फॉर चेल्सी as they don't have UCL or Europa exactly, लेकिन कोई ना कोई आएगा is what the tablets are saying, rather tier 1 sources are saying। तो भाई मुझे तो लगता है it might be again we might pay big money, which is not the right thing, I'm not saying it's the right thing, लेकिन शायद हम big money pay करेंगे विक्टर ओसिमेन के लिए in the end, offering a couple of players, one on sale one on loan। मुझे यही लगता है एंड में, that's my thing। लेकिन ग्योकेरेश आई थिंक वो कंटिन्यू करेगा विद पोर्टो। अगर हमें 70 मिलियन पाउंड देना ही है, आई थिंक विल प्रॉब्ली गो बैक इन ओसिमेन, और यहाँ पर लुकाकू पर टेम्प्ट हो सकता है कॉन्टे, जस्ट से दैट इज वन थिंग। लेकिन हमें यूज करना है उसको साथ में, ऐसा नहीं हो जैसे लास्ट सीजन हमने किया था मिलान के साथ। मिलान के साथ क्या था पीपल, इफ यू रिमेंबर, पुलिसिक एंड वाज इट लॉफ्टुस-चीक हमने पहले बेच दिया, फिर हम मांगते रह गए मैन्योन को बहुत लेट। एंड यहाँ पर गोलकीपर का तो अलग ही चल रहा है भाई, 4-4 गोलकीपर चेल्सी में, 4-4 गोलकीपर है राइट नाउ, यस विद स्लोनिना कमिंग बैक। So with 4 proper potential first team goalkeepers, you are wanting another goalkeeper। पहले सेल करो भाई, सेल करो। और जॉर्गेनसन बेसिकली और कोस्टा, भाई जो भी आप बात करो, पिकफोर्ड, रैम्सडेल, जो भी लिंक हो रहा है, मार्माडेशिलवी, आई कैन नॉट प्रोनाउंस हिज नेम भाई, जो अपना है लालिगा का गोलकीपर, a lot of good names, but we should probably sell first in goalkeeping in my opinion। इसलिए मैंने एग्जाम्पल जो बनाया है टैक्टिकल वीडियो, उसमें मैंने एक्चुअली केपा को लिखा है, बिकॉज आई कैन नॉट सी केपा एंड सैंचेज बीइंग सोल्ड इन द सेम विंडो। आई कैन नॉट, आई जस्ट कैन नॉट, यू नो, जैसे हम बात की है फॉर अदर पोजीशंस एज वेल, दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग। एंड आई थिंक बॉल प्लेइंग एबिलिटी में अच्छा है, ऑल्दो बहुत सारे इश्यूज है। आई स्टिल बिलीव दैट कहीं ना कहीं ही गेट्स लिटिल बिट मोर हेट दैट व्हाट ही डिजर्व्स, बिकॉज दैट वन बैड टेरिबल सीजन दैट ही हैड, बट इट्स नॉट द नंबर वन फॉर चेल्सी फॉर श्योर। पेट्रोविच मैं तो रखना चाहूंगा टू बी ऑनेस्ट, देखते हैं। अगेन द मेन क्वेश्चन इज चेल्सी के लिए अभी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल Enzo Fernandez, is he playing the Olympics? Hopefully नहीं खेले is what Chelsea is saying, and then possibly आप फिट रहेंगे, लाविया फिट आएगा। अगर आप रख सकते हो आपका मिडफील्ड फिट, then I think Enzo Ball would work, and who would come in the striker position as much as Nicolas Jackson and Nkunku good? Are they the exact fits of checking every box? Probably no। और वहां पर हमें चाहिए लेफ्ट विंगर या स्टिक विद रहीम स्टर्लिंग। सो यहाँ कीप सेल लोन हमने कंटिन्यू करना है प्रॉपर स्ट्रीम वंस ही बिकम्स फॉर्मल ऑफिशियल, जो होने वाला है एनी टाइम, होपफुली डज। लेट्स सी। अगेन ये चीज आई थी लेकिन नकार भी दिया गया था दीपक, बट अगेन बिग अप टू ऑल भाई, शाउट आउट भाई सब लोग, लाइक बटन दबा दीजिए, यू नो द ड्रिल गाइस। कल सुबह यूसीएल वीडियो, अभी तक इतना ही है, बाय, लव यू ऑल।